For sale here by Cryptovania is a one-of-a-kind metal deer skull handcrafted in Hydetown, PA by a local artisan, Scott Smith. 29 individual pieces of steel cut, fastened, and hammered into a fine sculpture honoring Clyde, a forest sentinel scouted, stalked, and harvested by Scott several years ago near his Northwest PA home. Included with the purchase is a 20-minute limited edition featured DVD by Cryptovania's TRT Studios, highlighting this exact individual steel skull. Welcome to Cryptovania. Today we have a special treat for everyone. Today we're in our hometown of Hydetown, Pennsylvania. We're going to introduce you to our friend Scott. He's got something really interesting going on in his shop. He has many interesting things going on in his shop, but this one really caught our eye. We think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So without further ado, Scott, thanks a lot for having us over, man.
Glad to have you here, Tommy. Good to see you again, bud.
Awesome, man. Well, if you wouldn't mind sharing your metal sculpture with the folks at home, maybe you could walk us through what we've got going on here.
Well, a while back I wanted to see if I could do something. I've always wanted to try it, and then since then I've done a few of them. This is my latest one I'm working on. I do everything by hand, something I enjoy doing, working with metal and welding. But this right here is my metal deer heads.
Well, that is awesome. This must be the model that you started.
Yeah, this one, the model. I call him Clyde. He's been around for a long time, but he's quite filthy. But that's where I took my main measurements off of. In the skull here itself, there's like 29 different pieces of metal that I put together. You know.
So I'm noticing right away, oh my gosh, the attention to detail on this thing. I mean, first of all, just even the basis of what you started with and what you have come up with so far is amazing. And then the attention to detail on the antlers, for example, the intricacies. I mean, am I seeing nasal passages in there?
Yeah, you have nasal passages and everything. You have your sinus passages. What I wanted to go with something that was realistically, you know, if I'm going to honor the animal, I want to honor the animal the best way. But that's what I wanted to go for, was everything. If I can make it by hand with my own little beanbag hammer and, you know, me cutting out the metal pieces, welding it together, grinding it down, trying to make it as detailed as I can, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
As you can see, this horn right here has got starting to get the detail on it, and this horn here is smooth yet.
Yes.
Because I haven't even started that yet.
Yes.
But I will. I wanted to give you something here that was
compare and contrast.
Comparison.
Yeah.
And you know, but like I said, there's like 29 different pieces of metal in here. None of them are really straight. Some are bent, crooked when they get into their velvet area, and when they start turning and, you know, rubbing trees and that, they do hurt their horns and bend them and twist them, and some of them are straight and some of them aren't. But that's what I wanted to go with, a look that I thought was realistic.
Yeah, I think it's realistic too. Yeah, that's awesome. And like even some of the things, like the hole near the eye.
Yep.
I mean, that is some fantastic attention to detail.
Yeah, that's your nervings that come out of there. There's two holes that go in here, and I have to put them in yet. Your sinus passage holes that go here, and then there's two holes that go right down here.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, do you have?
And this goes in here to
do you have any kind of a taxidermy or medical background?
No, I've just been a fabricator and been welding for 40-some years, you know, and it's my hobby. I'm retired and I enjoy doing that. I just enjoy doing stuff like that. A friend of mine, him and I decided to start building bows, recurves, and we did that for a while.
Yep.
And it's fun.
Yeah. very time consuming too, I'm
This
sure.
is probably the most satisfying thing I love to do. I can come out here and say, hey, if I want to put 2 hours into it, if I want to put 4 hours into it, or if I want to come out and just say, wow,
Yeah.
and then go back in. You know,
Yeah.
this is something I really, really enjoy doing. You needed this right here. This was a trial and error process. I don't know how many times I welded on a piece of pipe to make that, you know, to get what I wanted. Okay.
And that's a good point. When you start the actual antler, you're starting out with, or if it's not a secret, what are you starting out with? As
1 inch piece of tube, pipe, 1 inch piece of steel pipe.
Boy, that's
Right there.
yeah, yeah. So this becomes that.
Yes.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of attention to detail as well.
Keep that there, please.
Yeah, that's really something to think that one thing used to be the other.
This is always, you know, yeah, it's going to be lumpy because of the weld on here, but that's the angle that you want
Sure.
for your deer head.
Yeah, there you have it.
Right there.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding there. That's to consider that someone beat that out with a hammer and a welder and a grinder. Super impressive.
Well, thank you.
Gorgeous. That's absolutely gorgeous. Now, how many hours do you think you have into this?
The skull alone, in cutout time and template making to begin with, I don't count that time anymore because I've made them and they sit in a drawer, and when I want to do one, I pull the templates out and, you know, maybe make improvements on it or whatever. But I would say right now I've got about 45 to 50 hours on it right now.
Now, how many do you think? How many more hours do you think until you have your final product?
Right now, what it is the, I call it the be careful time.
Yeah.
Okay, because you have all your welds here now, and I've got to finish welding around your horn mounts, all the way around here. Okay, then I got to start grinding and blending.
Yeah.
Because this becomes the pedicle right here. So it's got to end up being smooth. When this horn fits down in here, okay, like right in there,
Yeah.
that's the pedicle right here.
Yes.
And that's this part right in here. Okay, right up in here where it comes up to your main frame. Then this is going to be all welded in, and then I have to blend it all in, all the way around it, make sure it's all blended in right into it. Then I have to re-weld up in here and get this all blended in and underneath so it looks, you know.
So we're looking at basically halfway right now.
Oh, I'm past halfway.
A little past halfway.
Yeah, I'm past halfway. I can probably have this done in one day if I wanted to stay out here and work on it. People want bigger, yeah. Like I said, no deer are the same. This deer here, I wanted to be about 20 inches on the inside. It's close to one that I know of, and it's kind of patterned after one I know of. Now, where people deviate, it usually comes up from here to here is roughly around 10 inches on all, like your G1, all the way down is roughly like 10 inches. Can be 8 to 10 inches, but normally it's around 10 inches. And then from there, you can get the width you want. So I'll make 2 horns, mount them in a wooden block I have that this fits right down into.
Right.
Okay, so I have both of these up, and I'll move these around till I get the design I want, or the form that I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then that's what I use when I start with my 1 inch piece of pipe. Because when you put this together in the marks that it's supposed to be in, set it up where you can see it, you know.
Which that's a good point too. You already have the marks laid
Yeah,
out
they're
for
marked right here to
exactly
where
how-
they're gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay. On the skull, and I'll carry them through. I'll put punch marks in here eventually. And that's why I'll know where they go to, and then my final thing is to fill the punch marks in and blend them out so you don't see them.
Right.
But that gives you where these horns are at, and I end up with the 20-inch spread that I wanted.
Yeah.
I've got my 8-inch spread across here
Yeah.
that I wanted. Okay. Now I have to put more of this up on the back side of these because they're never rubbed off on the back side, hardly ever. You see right here. They're always up high.
Oh, that's a good point.
Only the very tips of them are usually,
Yeah.
but they're always on the back side of these. They're always,
Yeah.
Not so much after you get to your G1 here.
Yeah.
Then they start smoothing off because that's what they're doing. They're rubbing and everything else.
Because it's the same attitude that so many people that enjoy Cryptovania have, and that is whether you're actually harvesting animals or not, you have a genuine appreciation and reverence for nature and for the animals.
You got to
and such.
respect this animal to begin with, or you shouldn't be out there even hunting it at
Agreed.
all.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a tribute. I'll tell you.
This is my tribute to what a wonderful animal.
Welcome back. We're back at Scott's shop again. We're back to the next phase of the deer sculpture. And what do you got going on today, Scott? Where are we at in the process?
Well, we're pretty much done with it right now. I've got some little more buffing and filling in here, a couple places. I have a couple dings and that I want to straighten out and level out, then finish polishing. I finished out the pedicles, got them all done. The horns are all mounted, the back mounts are done.
We're going to be able to see the hatch marks and stuff on there, and that really looks tough, man. That's great looking.
Sculpturing is sculpturing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not polishing to the, it's a rendition,
Yeah.
you're saying. And I try to make them realistic. If you look at a natural skull of a deer, they're not all smooth and polished.
Exactly.
Every one is different.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. She is looking sweet.
We've got putting in the rest of our skull parts, the back of our skull parts here.
Oh, yeah.
Having those put back in where they're supposed to be in at. Finished getting the pedicle mounts all done.
So that's exactly how they look in real life.
Your tissue and that, if you take a look at the real skull, I'll get to one here. Well, here is an actual skull, and you see you'll have the pedicle. Comes up from the skull, and this is a part that actually, when it's time for them to lose their horns, this whole section falls off, and that pedicle stays, of course, In the next year, they start growing their new base from the base here of the pedicle, and they start growing their new horns. Depends upon the size of the deer,
Yep.
and how big the head is, and how much flesh goes with it. The last thing I do,
Just for comparisons, I mean, that is amazing. I don't know how you could get any more realistic of a representation with something that's made from bone and something that's made out of steel.
well, like I said in the first issue, I take paper templates of each one of these depressions in its sections, okay?
Yes.
And there's at least 29 different pieces of puzzle, you might say.
Yes.
Then you make each piece, and then each piece I fit and form. Have to tack them in.
Yep.
Make sure it's formed where it's supposed to be. And some of the dents, like in here and that, I have a bean bag or a sand bag, and a teardrop hammers, and I'll whale away till we get the size we want. So no two are the same.
Right.
But
Well, it's handmade craftsmanship right there.
and I have the teeth done here now on these.
Oh, so you do. Yeah, it looks like she's looking good.
She's pretty much done. It really is. A little more polishing, and then I have to do a lot of sealing.
Now I see over here at the next workstation over here, you've got a piece of the pipe in this vise here. You were saying, what are you working on here with this pipe?
I'm starting a new horn, another set of horns. As I said earlier, I always make my forms out of this aluminum. Okay, and I have a form that has to be 18.5 inches on the inside spread. This one has to be. Okay, so I made one that's going to be 1/2, to end up being at 18.5 inches. And as I get my forms for the horns that I like,
Yes.
okay, then I'll transfer it onto here, then I start bending my pipe. I slot it and make it. Go ahead.
I see you've got some kind of,
It's a grid work that I work out. It's just, stuff that I've done. And just there's easier ways to bend this pipe. You can get a pipe bender, and you can get, a manual bender, and you can fill them full of sand.
mm-hmm.
'Cause it's a long winter.
Yeah.
And I enjoy doing it this
Yeah.
way, where, how I was taught by an old gentleman.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, he did this with a hacksaw. Back in the days that I learned it from.
Yeah.
But as you see, the grid work comes here, then as it gets up here, a horn doesn't stay in the same plane. It comes up and bends around and turns. So you'll see that the grid work here on this starts to bend and turn from the center line.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I have to do. So it'll all bend in, but it'll also bend up. Start my upward bend on it.
Yeah.
Then the next step, I'll take it on here and I'll reform it, and then I'll form it from point A to point B and make sure I got the same form where I want it to be.
Fantastic.
And that continues on with the horn, okay? And then as your points on it, depends upon if the person wants an 8-point, a 10-point, a 4-point, whatever. How tall do they want their, how far apart do they want your brow tines?
Scott, let me ask you, in this whole process, what's your favorite part of the process? I know you enjoy the whole thing, but what's your favorite minutia of the process? And what's the most difficult part of the process? I know none of it's easy.
My favorite is building the horns, because when they get done, I think they look really, really realistic.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And the hardest part of it is it is a kind of a favorite part too, once you get into sections.
Yes.
The horns to the head, okay? The head, making these parts here, them in and trying to tack them in place. Well, I really do love building the horns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many, thinking about which way I have to go with it, and I
Yeah.
gotta consider in the next step of tapering everything down. There's a lot of things to this that people don't. I know about it, but people don't know about it. Of course, they wouldn't know about
Right.
it. Like, when deer are in the velvet, this is how this gets. This one was not a break off. This was deformed during the velvet, and this horn actually has a little more curve in it, inward, than what this one does.
What?
And that's exactly what the other one is. It's curved in a little more. This is,
To replicate the webbing, even that's a painstaking process, I'm sure.
there's a lot of welding and grinding there. Like, that ain't it.
Luckily, you know.
That's one
that.
thing about weld. You can weld it, put more in it, and then take it back out again to get it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
With wood, you cut it out once, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't they say measure twice, cut once?
Yep.